Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. Welcome to the Crypto Conversation. It is the start of the week, and it is the start of the week where we get a Bitcoin ETF, although it is futures based, but very exciting times. So I thought just time to do the weekly market sentiment report and see how the market is looking just before the ETF launches, which is scheduled for tomorrow. All right, let's get into it. So if we start over here at Brave New Coin, and should of course mention, as always, this is the weekly podcast where I go through crypto Twitter and tease out the important data points and narratives. So the best place to watch this is on the Brave New Coin YouTube channel, of course, but you can also listen to this as a normal podcast on Spotify and Apple, and I'll try and make that make sense just for the people that are listening as well. All right. As I said, we're starting at bravenewcoin.com, and we can see on the Brave New Coin Bitcoin Liquid Index, the BLX, Bitcoin price 61,331 at the moment, just kind of been hanging out around the 60K price level since the big jump up last week on Friday when the Bitcoin ETF news broke that the first Bitcoin futures ETF would effectively go live tomorrow. So, all right, that's where we are. If we look at Coin360, the heat map, yep, again, market's looking good. So Bitcoin, well, 61,400 now. ETH is around 3,750. And most of the market is in the green. But I think fair to say all eyes on Bitcoin just at the moment. And if we get a fear and greed, checking at the fear and greed crypto market sentiment analysis, and it is pointing to extreme greed. And I think, that's fair enough. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It can stay in the green at extreme greed for some time, particularly in a bull market. And I think, I suppose there's just rising expectations that Q4 is going to be, a bit of a rush, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. So I liked this from Zoo at Three Arrows Capital. He says, speaking with an institutional investor, that investor commented that two things both seem true. And number one, Bitcoin is the gift that kicked off the crypto innovation space. And secondly, Bitcoin is a new religion that may consume the world. Now, obviously, don't take that too literally, but I think, what he's saying, and he's not even saying you should be a Bitcoin maximalist or anything like that. He's just saying that, it's that meme of Bitcoin as a kind of mind virus, not in a bad way. It's just once you go down that rabbit hole and see the promise and potential of Bitcoin, it's very hard to ignore. And I think there's just a growing appreciation of that fact, or more adherence to the Bitcoin religion, if you like, all the time. So it's just, one of these once in a generation opportunities, or once in a generation births of a new asset class, new form of money. And so, of course, people are going to be fascinated by that, and they're going to want to take part. So another way of saying that, of course, is just our old friend Raoul Pal. He's bullish, of course, and he wants us to, his tip at the moment, Raoul says, we're going to all-time highs across all major crypto assets soon. And look, may or may not be. But Raoul says, please, no laser eyes, no hubris, no saying, I told you so, or no saying, I'm amazing posts, or counting every 1,000 as we go. Just chill and let the number go up. So I guess he's just saying, if we are lucky enough to get a Q4 bull market that just sends everything, the number goes up, don't take it for granted and don't be a dick about it. So Alex Kruger he posted this chart yesterday, which I like. So it's basically just showing the similarities between a crypto adoption at the moment and the early growth of the internet in the early 1990s. So if you're looking at this, so you can see the blue line here is the yellow line is internet growth, right? From 1990 to 2011, from 0 to 2.2 billion users. And so, funnily enough, the blue line, which is crypto, and to date is this green part here, has followed exactly the same trajectory. And there's been a lot of people have pointed this out over time. It's just the way that S curves of technology adoption, that's how it works. You could see similar charts for telephone adoption and TVs and mobile phone use, all that kind of stuff. But I think internet users is most appropriate because it's everyone on earth really is slowly becoming an internet user, and we can see that crypto is following exactly the same path, which is just bullish, obviously for the long run, but it also shows again how early crypto is. So in terms of like internet use, if we're comparing that, we're still in around 1998, still early days, a lot of adoption to come. All right, another chart also from Alex, just the top 1% in the US now hold more wealth than all of the middle class, which is quite stark. And I mean, sure, look, I'm not trying to say we should tax the rich or anything like that, but I just think capitalism is good. It's the growth engine. I get it, but I don't know, is that sustainable? Does that make sense? Should the top 1% actually own more than 50%? I'm not sure if that's sustainable in the long term, and I guess crypto is a way out, right? Anyway, that's just kind of setting the scene for what is going to happen. The first Bitcoin ETF starts trading tomorrow. So this is a headline from the New York Times. So bear in mind the SEC it's not their job to announce any of this. The SEC either just have to approve or deny ETF applications, and for the first time ever, they haven't denied this one. So essentially, tomorrow morning, it's the ProShares futures-based ETF will begin trading on the New York Stock Exchange. So that's exciting, obviously, and you can see. So this is some of the text from the New York Times article, and this is the CEO at ProShares says that 2021 will be remembered for this milestone. Investors who are curious about crypto but hesitant to engage with unregulated crypto exchanges now have convenient access to Bitcoin in a wrapper that has market integrity. So obviously there's been a little bit of debate about whether that's true. I mean, sure, it has market integrity, but for a lot of people, Bitcoin futures is probably more suited to traders. It's not really suitable for, long-term investors. I think spot buying is probably still best for long-term investors, but of course that comes with its own issues, such as custody and so on. So will a spot Bitcoin ETF be approved eventually? Well, you'd have to hope so, but of course, Gary Gensler and the SEC, they just see the futures-based product as, from their perspective, offering a higher level of investor protection. In the meantime, it's not just ProShares, but Valkyrie have a similar futures-based ETF ready to go as well, and looks like that has also not been declined by the SEC, so that gets tacit approval. And there was, this is Eric Balčiūnas at Bloomberg. He's an ETF analyst, and he's been following this really closely. So if you're not following him on Twitter, he's the guy for all the ETF commentary. Yeah, so he says that Valkyrie will probably go live on Wednesday or Thursday. So that's 2 Bitcoin ETF futures products going live in, well, this week, really. And Eric again, just pointing out, so Zach, he's another guy also, no, anyway, so he was talking about how Fundstrat had predicted a 168K price target for Bitcoin based on these new futures ETFs going live. But I guess, you know, they see 36 billion flowing into these ETFs. Eric says that's optimistic. So he's more in the range of perhaps 4 to 5 billion going in, and from his point of view, that would still be wildly successful for a futures-based ETF, right? Because again, it's just more suited to short-term traders because of the rollover and the fees, rather than for long-term holding positions. And I guess that's kind of what the point that Barry Silbert is making here when he says friends don't let friends buy and hold futures-based ETF. So, and then Preston replies to Barry and says, Barry, when are you going to convert the Grayscale Trust to a spot-based Bitcoin settled ETF? And Barry says, stay tuned. So look, I mean, Barry is trying to, he would love to convert that Grayscale Trust into a spot ETF, and he'll try, he'll make the applications, but it's just whether the SEC will approve. Something to watch. And again, if you want to get kind of deep into the weeds as to the difference between futures ETFs and spot-based ETFs, there's a lot of good commentary on Twitter, but that's a good tweet here. I won't go through it now, but again, it's just making the point that, yeah, futures ETFs are designed for more short-term trading, and they do tend to underperform the spot market, especially on a longer time frame. All right, so to summarize, yeah, 2 futures-based ETFs will go live, begin trading from tomorrow, or the next day for the Valkyrie one, and I guess we'll just have to see what impact that has on price. I think it's fair to say most people are very bullish. As I say, Bitcoin is just sitting under that old all-time high at the moment, and what do you know? Plan B still in the game with stock to flow, and so here's the stock to flow chart, and back in blue says Plan B. So you can see the red line is sort of, got out of the light blue and back into the deep blue and heading upwards. So heading upwards to that 100K line. Just another interesting narrative. I've talked about this quite a bit before. Can Bitcoin get to 100K by the end of the year? I mean, it's a little way away when we're at 60K, but if Q4 is very bullish and these ETFs kind of give Bitcoin enough momentum to break that old all-time high with authority and go into price discovery mode, anything could happen. Anything could happen. Exciting times, right? And again, just looking at this, so this is again also a chart from Plan B. It just shows the kind of the 2 previous cycles here, and the red line is our current price trajectory. So the stock to flow model target is here, 100K, and the stock to flow, I think it's called the cross asset model, that target is way up here. So yeah, interesting to see where this current bull run will get to. I guess the point being there's a lot of room for upside if Bitcoin does take off. All right. Not everyone, of course, is bullish. Always good to present the other side. So this woman here, Michelle Solaria. She wrote a big piece for the New York Magazine, just covering off some quite informed commentary from, I guess, Bitcoin bears or Bitcoin skeptics. Michael Burry, of course, he's famously the guy from The Big Short. He's a Bitcoin skeptic. So is Professor Plum and Josh Wolf. So, I mean, this is the piece. So if you want to read that, do read it. I just highlight it because it's a more nuanced, if you like, a more nuanced view than a lot of what you would read in the mainstream media about whether or not Bitcoin is in a bubble, or whether it's going to zero. I mean, if you're watching this, you're probably bullish. I'm bullish, but always good just to make yourself aware of the other side of the argument. All right, let's start to close this out. NFT, metaverse stuff. Facebook announced that they're planning to hire 10,000 people in the EU to build the Facebook vision for a metaverse, which, you know, I think sounds really dystopian. And if you remember, this is what Facebook have shown off so far for their version of the metaverse, which just looks pretty tragic. It's just like a slightly souped up Zoom call, and doesn't look fun to me. So, you know, old mate CryptoPunk 6529, his response is simply, we need to hurry, because, you know, if the point he's making is we've got to build the decentralized crypto version of the metaverse before Facebook takes this thing over and it just goes full dystopia. What else? All right, so I thought this was interesting. So this is what I'm saying is this is interesting, I think. So someone here is suggesting the construction of giant monuments, basically funding it with NFTs, right? So it's kind of NFT-based crowdfunding, which should be epic, right? And I think, you know, you could use this kind of model, NFT-based crowdfunding is being used to make Ethereum, The Infinite Garden, which is a full-length documentary about Ethereum with the support of Vitalik and the full Ethereum community. So it'd be cool to see this, because, you know, it's basically an Ethereum documentary made by the Ethereum community, but with a massive budget, thanks to, NFT-based crowdfunding. So they've got 984 ETH for the budget, which, well, do the math, that's a lot, right? So, yep, that's cool. And kind of on a similar note, so this guy here, he's a professor of neurobiology at Stanford. Same point, he says that several laboratories are starting to sell NFTs as an additional source of research funding. So just extrapolate out, and anyone can do this to fund whatever they want, you know, good or bad, nefarious, utopian or dystopian. But the genie is out of the bottle, so something to keep an eye on there. All right, let's finish this off. You may have seen Apple announced new MacBook Pros and I think AirPods. Just thought this was cool. Benedict Evans says that the new Mac chips have twice as many transistors as all the CPUs combined, I think, in the Apple Macs shipped back in 1984. So again, that's Moore's law in action. That's an exponential growth curve, which is similar to this one, you know. Technology, man, it's just exponential. All right, so I guess the big question is next, what happens to the Bitcoin price? Does it go exponential in Q4? Do altcoins follow? Stick around. We'll be here next week to keep track of it as we go. All right, guys, that is today's show. Thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the Crypto Conversation in whatever podcast app you are using. But yeah, that's it for today. Thanks, guys. See ya.